This is Jan Sky from Brain Potential, leadership powered by neuroscience. And on today's Brain Bites, we have Karen Ferris from Victoria in Australia. Karen is a change management rebel with a cause. So we're interested to hear about her topic today, which is it's time to rethink. Oh, Karen, why is it time to rethink?
Oh, thanks, Jan, and thank you for having me on Brain Bites. And I hope you can hear me here in Melbourne. We've just got a torrential rainstorm happening, so hopefully it's not over the sound. A good day for the Melbourne Cup, yeah, not.
Yes.
So why is it time to rethink? I believe that we have been, since the pandemic, or because of the pandemic, we've been offered or presented with the greatest opportunity we'll probably ever be presented with to rethink the way that we work. And so many, and I find it so frustrating, so many organizations, and let's say the executives, I won't call them leaders or bosses, demanding people to go back to the office. And I'm saying, why? Why do they have to? If they prove that they can be, and all the research is there, prove that they can be just as productive, if not more productive, more engaged, more motivated, by being given the flexibility and the autonomy to work where they want, when they want, how they want. Now, not everybody can work remotely. That's a given.
Yes.
But the more the automation and technology advances, the more those people will probably find some flexibility to work elsewhere. We're already seeing that in, manufacturing, and technology is performing a lot of the tasks that people used to have to be present to do. But I'm talking about the knowledge workers who, during the pandemic, sent home, worked from home on a full-time basis. And for most people really enjoyed that when they got into the rhythm, really enjoyed the flexibility. So I have a call to action for employees, and I suggest they do it as a collective and not have to stand out on their own, but ask why. And if the employer comes back and says, oh, because you won't be as productive, you can point them to the research that says that's absolutely not the case. Research has shown that people are just as productive. The other most common one is connection. Well, yes, I can go into an office when I want with my team to establish connection and collaborate, etc. But that doesn't mean I have to be there 2 days a week to do that. And the third reason they're talking about is culture. And I challenge anyone to look up a definition of culture that refers to a location, a building, or an office. You won't find one. Culture doesn't live in a building. Culture is, shared values and beliefs, patterns of behaviour, assumptions and expectations. And there's great examples of organizations that have a fully remote or widely distributed workforce that have a great culture. And I've done some research looking at, LinkedIn and Glassdoor, that what employees are saying about those organizations. And it's the employees that are saying, yeah, we have a great culture. It's not built in an office. It's how we work together and how our leadership brings us together. And so, yeah, the challenge to, ask why. Why do I have to be? And I was talking to an employee recently of one of the large banks who said, we're being told we have to go into the office 2 days a week. And I said, why? Because they want to see bums on seats because they've got this expensive real estate. And I said, well, that's not a good enough reason for me to have to go and sit in an office doing what I could have done from home and spent 2 hours commuting.
Yes.
So, the question is always to ask, was it worth the commute? And people are telling me it's not worth the commute. They're doing, another lady told me, I've been told I have to go in on certain days of the week. She said, I'm doing exactly what I could have done at home. I'm not really sitting with the team because most of my time is spent on the phone or in meetings. So I don't want to disturb them. And then I get on the train again and another hour back the other way home. So it's
Go
just not
home.
worth it.
Absolutely. Oh, you've brought up some really valid points. I like, firstly, Karen, how you said COVID has presented us with an opportunity. That's the first time I think I've heard anyone speak about the opportunity that COVID brought to the land. But that aside, I want to ask the question why. And the question is, why do you think these managers, bosses, whatever we want to call them, want the people back in the workplace? Is there one factor? I've got something in my mind, but I'm interested to hear what you believe is the governing force behind that reason.
Because, yeah, and that's a great question. It is the greatest opportunity, but that doesn't mean it's easy. There's a lot of things that are going to have to be rethought from, OH&S, HR, legal, all the things that, if you're going to have a fully remote workforce or a workforce that can choose where they work, when they want, how they want. There's a lot of things that need to be considered. And I think the reaction is, oh, that's just too hard. Let's go back to how it was before. Let's go back to March 2020, and we don't have to think about all those things. That's what I think the real reason is. And they're coming up with all these excuses like culture and productivity, and none of it stands.
Right.
Yes.
So that then you mean we're addressing change, because by nature we are creatures of habit. We have habit when we first wake up in the morning of our bathroom activities, perhaps, or maybe some people are straight to the kitchen to put the kettle on or the coffee machine started. So we like to be habitual. And if we're asked to change a habit, our brain as well as our body's going, oh, no, I've done it this way and it's always worked. So change means looking at, from a brain perspective, recreating new neural firings down new clusters of neural pathways, because this was the old cluster, if I use my fingers to demonstrate a cluster of neural pathways that demonstrated how we always went to an office. We did the commute, 1 hour in the morning, 8 hours in the workplace, 1 hour at home. That's like 10 hours out of our day, plus the time it gets us, that's a lot. Yet we got used to it and we did it. Now we're saying, create some new neural pathways, new habits of behavior. And that's like asking a drug addict to just stop taking drugs in some cases.
Yeah. And the big challenge is that you're absolutely right, Dan. The big challenge is that employees generally liked the new reality of working remotely. And they want to continue with that flexibility. And this divide between employer and employee has just got so massive because they're saying, nope, now we want it to go back because we don't want to think about how the change is going to have to pan out. And employees are saying, no, because unless you give me a really good reason why, as in any change, I always say start with why. Why do we have to change? Unless you give me a really good reason why I have to go back to the office on certain days of the week or on a full-time basis on a number of days a week, then why should I? And I haven't heard one sound argument yet. And I think the biggest challenge, and I've been writing about this recently, and I've borrowed words from Adam Grant, who said it's all about the concept of learn, unlearn, relearn. And he said, when you're curious, you learn. When you're curious, you learn. When you have courage, you unlearn. Because you have to have the integrity to say, what I learned yesterday is not going to stand today. It's the Goldsmith, what got you here won't get you there sort of thing. And I think employees generally have said, yeah, we've unlearned how we worked and we've relearned, but the employer is saying, no, I'm not going to unlearn. I want to go back to what I knew worked,
So it's the employer who's not prepared to run with this, grasp this new way of working.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we've all heard about, whatever you call it, the great resignation. I call it the great realization that I have a
Yes.
choice as an employee. I
Yeah.
have a choice. And if you're not going to give me that choice, if you're not going to trust me and give me the autonomy, then I will look for another employer. And the talent shortage has never been as big as it is right now. And employees are in the driving seat, because I know I don't have to sit in Melbourne to work. I could work for a company in Florida or Singapore, or we've proved it
Absolutely.
works. So I have now a global smorgasbord of employers to choose from.
Yes.
So I'm in the driving seat. So if my current employer is, just sticking the head in the sand, or the feet in the mud, whatever the analogy is, and just saying no, back to the office without a good reason, then I'm going to consider my options.
So going back to how you opened it, COVID has created this opportunity, and opportunity to me has the word change connected to it so closely, because if we grab a new opportunity, no matter what that might be, we've got to change some of our behavior, some of our thinking, some of our attitudes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're saying. I've been working with before I go on, I've been working with a young man who's was making a transition from one organization to another, and he worked in customer service, and he went in with part of his criteria being that I must be able to work from home at least 3 days a week.
Yep.
And that it's like when you're job searching, you find the company you want to work for that offers what you want to work with, and you'll find it. And he actually has done, and he's jumped fence. So there's a lovely piece of talent that's been lost by one and gained by another. And I'm seeing so much more of that, Karen, and I'm sure you are in your area as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned connections, and that was one of the things. We're human beings, we need to be connected, we've got social brains, we get exhausted on Zoom. How do people overcome that?
I mean, again, it's a choice, isn't it? If we have real leaders in the organization, they need to make sure that people don't feel alone or isolated, and that despite the technology that enables us to work as we're working today, that we retain that human touch. So this is the choice that, okay, I think we need to get together to connect, to re-establish a sense of purpose, team building, whatever it might be, collaboration, innovation. And if the leader and the team say, you know what, it makes sense for us to physically co-locate to do that, wherever that might be, then we do it. And if that means going back to what was the old office, that hopefully now has activity-based working and collaboration spaces and connection spaces and deep thinking spaces, and rethinking the office is a whole other topic. But that's how we retain that connection, by reaching out to each other. And that's about having good leadership that makes sure that people are connecting not only within the team, but cross teams as well. And leaders continually reaching out and touching base. How are you going? How are you faring? What can I do to help? How can I support you?
Yes.
Yeah.
That keeps the connection alive. Oh, Karen, I think I could go on talking, and anyone who's listening to this podcast will be saying, we want more of Karen Ferris. She really is a rebel with a cause. And it's so lovely. Perhaps we can connect again, and on maybe another topic, talking something else in the future, Karen.
I would love to do that, Jan. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much for being on Brain Bites today. And yes, as you mentioned, it is an Australia Melbourne Cup Day, so may the best horse win. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Jan.